The Bottom Line is brought to you by the Cotton Board, strengthening the fiber of our industry.
We continue this special edition of TWILA Remembering Michael Danna by yielding the floor to the person who has worked with Mike the longest in the Farm Bureau Public Relations Department, Assistant Director of Public Relations, Neil Melancon.
When Steve Jobs died in 2011, Mona Simpson delivered a eulogy for her brother in which she describes him as dying in media res, Latin for in the middle of things. As an innovator for Apple computers, Steve was always busy and had projects going on all the time. When I met Michael Danna in February of 1996, he was always busy. I was hired as an intern and my primary job was helping Mike with the newspaper, since at that time I was destined to become a print reporter, or so I thought. This internship was temporary, but the monthly paper Farm Bureau produced would help me learn more skills when I moved on in 3 months or so. I was in grad school at the time and I too wanted to get busy moving on with my career. Well, I was wrong about the internship, which lasted a year and a half, about the monthly paper, which is now once a year, and about my career, which is now at 19 years and counting. I did help Mike, though, learning both the TV and the radio production we do here. I also watched as Mike expanded it after taking over as Director of Public Relations here from Reg Wallace, who retired in March of 1997. When I was hired full-time in 1998, he had a portion of the department sealed off to make a small office for me, and he expanded the department from 3 people to 5. Later, it would become 7, not counting the many contract employees that have helped us over the years. Mike liked to help his friends, and giving them contract work was one way he could. He was in the middle of looking for ways to expand that to increase our coverage. The radio network, we have expanded from reel-to-reel, cassette and phone delivery on 10 stations to satellite and internet delivery on more than 40. This TV show would also expand, going from a half-dozen stations in the state to 14 stations, 4 cable networks, and a national satellite channel. At one time, we were even being translated into German after Mike had made a phone call for a broadcast there. And speaking of, foreign travel was another way we expanded. I pioneered it on a personal trip to Japan in 2003, though taking out time to do a story on our connection with their grain import business there. Since then, we've broadcast from 13 countries on 5 continents, and Mike was in the middle of planning more. Some of his last words to us were to continue this expansion, making things bigger and better. He was something of a Star Trek fan, and I think that guided us to boldly go where we had not gone before. At the same time, Mike never wanted to lose sight of the people we represent, primarily the farmers and ranchers in Louisiana, whose story is so critical to our country and to our world. It was the people and our connections to them that motivated Mike each morning. As a boss, he could be a perfectionist sometimes, but that wasn't because, like Steve Jobs, he was obsessively detail-oriented. It was because he never wanted to disappoint anyone. Mike was always in the middle of making connections, and to him, it was always about bringing people closer to make strangers friends and friends family. That's what working with him was really like. He very rarely played boss. He wanted to unleash people's creativity here to bring you, the viewer, the best possible stories we can show, to show all aspects of life in the agriculture business and the myriad ways in which it affects our lives and brings us together. Mike was far more likely to come into your office and tell you a joke or give you praise for a job well done than to give orders. As you saw each week, Mike had a very polished appearance, but a very soft heart. I will never forget the times he encouraged me and helped me to be a better writer, better editor, better speaker, and a better person. Words cannot encapsulate the many ways he affected my life and the life of the people on this show. Words cannot show the affection and care he had for his wife Renee and his children Chase and Taylor, whom he leaves behind. Words cannot speak to the powerful legacy Mike leaves, but I will leave you with this. We grieve for his passing, but we do not despair because our work is laid out for us to continue what he was in the middle of. We grieve, but we do not despair because we know in his final weeks he knew he was dying and had the opportunity to gain closure with his many family members, co-workers, and friends. We grieve, but we do not despair because his life made a difference, and that is an immortal legacy that can neither be touched nor tarnished. A legacy left behind by a TV host, a boss, a husband and a father, a son, an employee and employer, a fashion plate, a mentor, a coffee buddy, a journalist, a staunch advocate for agriculture, and eventually to everyone he ever met, a friend. On a final personal note, one of the things I'll miss is the personal interaction we have where we would joke around taking these ridiculous positions. And Avery, I know you were a part of it, making all these crazy arguments that we kind of lost track of where we were in, but we always had fun doing it.
We're all going to miss those conversations. Thanks, Neil.